And welcome back to the Hot Lap. Big breaking news. We're talking Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari levels because Christian Horner has pretty much been sacked by Red Bull with immediate effect as of this morning. Yes, shortly after most of us woke up here around the UK. Anyone into Formula 1 would have checked the newsfeed and would have gone, whoa. So, why though? And that's the big question. Why was Christian Horner sacked? So, this was the breaking news. Christian Horner leaves Red Bull with immediate effect, ergo S-A-C-K-E-D, sadly. And let's get into it. I mean, this guy was really important to Red Bull. We cannot forget that. 20 years, 405 races. There he is. And there he is. I mean, he's definitely aged in that 20 years, but albeit it is 20 years. He's the youngest team principal at the time. One of the most successful team principals. We forget, Red Bull's only team principal up until today. And Red Bull have released this on their Twitter. After 20 years with the team, Christian Horner departs Oracle Red Bull Racing as the team principal and CEO. And they say we thank him for his tireless and exceptional work. He's been instrumental in building this team into one of the most successful in F1, with 8 Constructors Champions, 6 Drivers Championships. Thank you for everything, Christian. Now, Oliver Mintzlaff has come out and said, we would like to thank Christian Horner for his exceptional work over the last 20 years. With his tireless commitment, experience, expertise and innovative thinking, he has been instrumental in establishing Red Bull Racing as one of the most successful and attractive teams in Formula 1. Thank you for everything, Christian, and you will forever remain an important part of our team history. That's the CEO of Corporate Projects and Investments, as in Oliver Mintzlaff. Now, as some of you may know, there was a power struggle earlier last year, and it kind of ongoing into this year. That 2 sides to Red Bull since Dietrich passed away. You've got the Thai side, which owned 51%, and the Austrian side, which owned 49%. And when the issues with Christian and a certain employee came out in 2023, it was, or 2024, sorry. It was interesting, wasn't it? Because the Thai side backed Christian Horner, whereas the other side very much allegedly wanted him gone. The helmet Marco, the Verstappens of the world, and here he is still, 18 months on from that. Plus. So, Red Bull versus Ferrari. This is quite interesting, because it shows you how successful Christian Horner's been. So, when we look at it, wins 124, Ferrari 65 in that time. Constructors' titles 6, Ferrari have had 2. Drivers' titles 8, Ferrari have had 1. So, let's be fair, not the most successful, but we wish this band success. It's Lauren Mekies, who's currently the boss, the team principal at V-Carb, Cash App, Racing Bulls, whatever you want to call them, but he takes over the Red Bull CEO duties. It's going to be quite the test for him. But who takes over? This guy does. And this guy takes over the Racing Bulls. Alan Permane. Now, I remember him all the way back in the late 90s as Giancarlo Fisichella race engineer at Team Enstone. He's done a lot since then. He left Team Enstone a few years ago, much to the surprise of many, because he's such a nice guy and he's obviously very good at what he does. But it's been interesting to see what he can do now in that team principal role. Now, what's interesting as well is all 4 have left Red Bull in the last year. All 4. These 4 here. Wheatley, Perez, Newey of those 2 big ones, and now Horner. What does that mean? Well, we'll get into that. So, the total stats of Christian Horner: 405 races, 124 wins, 8 drivers' titles, and 6 constructors' titles. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. Is what he's done as a team principal in a team that didn't exist over 20 years ago. Well, they existed as initially Stewart, and then Ford bought them, rebadged them as Jaguar, and then it was Red Bull. So, Motorsport has got an article out saying how Christian Horner's Red Bull exit will shake up the team and the whole F1 paddock, which I thought it was most definitely worth a look. They said it's a football cliche, but no less true for being repeated, that you're only as good as your last game. So is it success or lack of that has brought Christian Horner to its end? I mean, we're only looking a couple of years ago, 2023, Red Bull won all but 1 race. In 24, yes, they didn't win the Constructors, but they still won the Drivers' Championship with Max. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 4 years in a row, they've won the Drivers' title. And it says Horner sacking over 10 years at the helm of Red Bull, during which the team won, obviously, 6 Constructors' Championship and 8 titles is further evidence of what you might term the footballification of F1, and I kind of understand. I mean, with all these rumours about Fred Vassar maybe going, get rid of the team principals because it's not working. I don't think that's the best thing to do. Horner's contract, though, was understood to go all the way to 2030, but they're saying that personal scandal, internal warfare, leading to the departure of at least one high-profile member of staff. Let's be honest, 2, Wheatley and obviously Adrian Newey, arguably the highest. And they were just saying inconsistent on-track performances has taken the fizz out of that championship record. Yeah, it probably very much did, especially when Newey left, because they never really got the car back, didn't they? So for which the first 4 decades of the World Championship, the majority of teams were owned and managed by people whose names were above the factory door. Ergo, Christian Horner was not one of them, which was interesting. So they're saying there are a few parallels between McLaren and Red Bull in this regard, in relation to McLaren's recent history proved to be a harbinger of what was to come. Ron Dennis, who turned the team around in the 80s, was driven out by the shareholders in 2017. And they're comparing this now with McLaren and Red Bull in this regard. Dennis originally took control of Karen McLaren via a shotgun marriage between his organisation and what was then publicly a struggling F1 team. Engineered by key sponsor Maranello. Going back to Dennis, once he was in full command, he imprinted his stamp onto the whole McLaren brand, made the right technical hires, broke new commercial deals like sponsors, etc., and McLaren dominated for the best part of a decade. But he also fell out with key technical hires, John Barnard, Adrian Newey for Christian Horner maybe. And they're saying, like Dennis, Horner had built a successful racing team on his own through the lower categories. And at the end of 2004, Red Bull acquired, as we know, Jaguar Racing, which had spent the previous 5 seasons providing a case study in corporate bungling. To be fair, the Stewart team was really good in 1999, albeit the Ford Cosworth engine was a bit blowy-uppy. But history often rhymes with itself, in this case, Horner's ultimate falling out with Newey. And it's understood that through the turbulence of the last 18 months, the article says, Horner's been able to count on the support of, as we mentioned, the Thai side of Red Bull, which own 51%. The other side, the Austrian side, own 49%. But it's the Thai side that have been like, yes, Horner. And that's when Dietrich died, he left his affairs in order, splitting his position into those separate roles. And the minute that happened and the king passes away, so to speak, there seems to be a scramble for all the goods. Now, Horner had a close relationship with Mateschitz, and it was known that he resented the constant presence of the driver's advisor Helmut Marko, and now it's been well publicised that the two do not particularly like each other, which is kind of true, and it's all got very political, and Horner was accused also of coercive behaviour and sexual harassment by an employee early last year. Various details and apparent evidence which might otherwise have remained confidential entered the public domain. Were they real details? I mean, there was dodgy pictures and dodgy text suggesting things that I think if most managers did that to their employee, they'd probably be gone. Although we don't know whether that's true. Christian Horner's also never commented on it. Also, he's never declined to say that. And so that kind of put the pressure on. And over the last 18 months since the scandal broke, Red Bull has lost its position of on-track dominance. That's another reason why people might not have lost a bit of confidence in Christian Horner, and he repeatedly downplayed the alignment of a timeline between this and the departure of Adrian Newey, and he also waved off Newey's significant, which I think at the time upset him because he'd done that before Newey was gone, and he was like, well, wait a minute, I'm just going to go. So is Christian Horner the master of his own demise? When Martin Brundle came out and said, what he did say to me was there was no reason given to him as to why he's been released, which I thought was quite interesting. And this is the article on Planet F1 about ex-F1 pundit Horner following an out of the blue. He's basically said it, that he'd been realised he was on Sky earlier during an interview saying it was quite a shock that Christian Horner's his friend. It's completely out of the blue. He was quite sad, and he's done an incredible job there for 20 years, which I completely agree with you, Martin. He's won an awful lot of races and world championships, but it's not been difficult to feel, and this is what I think gets interesting. Martin Brundle said it's not been difficult to feel in the Formula 1 paddock and to observe and to hear things. They weren't particularly rosy at the team. He said, I believe it's probably performance related as well. I think perhaps it makes it more likely that Verstappen will stay there. More on that in a bit. I think that became quite personal, in some calling it Team Verstappen. So I think a number of aspects, but particularly that the car is struggling, he says. Although they've won races this year, of course. they've won races brilliantly, and they haven't really dominated. Now, Max's manager, which I think is quite interesting, because a lot has been said about Max going to Mercedes. Now this has happened, that Horner's gone. There was lots of rumours that Max didn't really get on with Horner, and he wanted him gone or his power reduced, then he may be happy to stay. Well, Max's manager has come out and said, we have a contract with Red Bull and are committed, and as we've been there for 11 years. We now mainly want the performance to return, and quickly too. He said Max wants to get the best out of the material he has at his disposal, but we also realise that the championship is no longer possible. Never say never, but Ralf Schumacher, though, he came out quite interesting. He never minces his word, and this was last year. This is not recent, but he blames Red Bull. As in, he blames Christian Horner for Red Bull's recent off-track issues. He said, if Red Bull continue to hold on to Christian Horner, the team will sink into mediocrity, which he might be telling the truth. So Schumacher backs Jos Verstappen after a visible clash with Horner at Silverstone. Now we're going into the present, and there was a clash allegedly with Max's father, Jos Verstappen, and Horner at Silverstone. Apparently tensions flared at Silverstone as Verstappen was seen in a heated exchange with Horner and Red Bull's press officer. Ralf Schumacher, speaking on the, I think, Buxton Gas podcast it's called, sympathised with the Dutchman's frustrations and openly criticised the Red Bull team boss. He said there was another argument or a heated exchange, at least visually and verbally, between Jos Verstappen and Christian Horner, and the press officer, you could see that Jos was anything but happy with the situation. He said Schumacher, as in Ralf, he did not hold back during the interview assessing Horner's leadership. He said, but I understand it too. He said, for me, Christian Horner is a bit of a difficult person. I have to say, he just failed to keep the team together well. He can't really deal with criticism. He also revealed that Horner refused to speak with him or Sky Sports Germany colleagues. Yeah, is that Red Bull throwing out the toys of their pram because they're being criticised? I don't know. He said, I am now on a so-called blacklist as he no longer talks to us. Highlighting fan interest in the team dynamic, Schumacher lamented the lack of accountability. He said, but I think our viewers are interested in that. What exactly is happening? Why? But he is clearly not the great in the true sense of the word, unfortunately. And he noted that recent team camaraderie, including pre-race barbecue and qualifying success, had already begun to unravel. They had a barbecue the day before, and that's now faded away. When he means day before, is it? I don't know. Who knows? Will Buxton has come out and says seismic news in F1 land to wake up to. Horner gone, and he says the right decision at the right time and for the right reasons. Obviously, a big question mark. He says time will tell, and here's what's interesting. This is what a lot of people are suggesting. Makes you wonder if those Max to Merc rumours will suddenly disappear, though, doesn't it? And I think potentially they will. And here's another bit rumour. At least one of the meetings that sealed Christian Horner's future over the last 2 weeks was reportedly involved with Oliver Mintzlaff and Max Verstappen. And so I see this. There's potentially three big reasons why Horner has left Red Bull. One, we're looking at purely performance-based. Bear in mind, this team was dominating, less than 2 years ago in 2023 at the time. And now look at them, they're even struggling to win. So far they've only won a couple of races, and you can make an argument that's because Max is very, very good. Number two, it could be part of that massive scandal. As in the scandal, the WhatsApp scandals finally come to a head, and he's gone because of that. But then there was due to be an employee tribunal in January next year, so I'm not sure. The other one, big word, 2 words, Max Verstappen. That's number three, simply because Max Verstappen, if he goes, they're going to look at that's been Horner's fault. If he stays, is that because Horner's gone? They're the three things. I believe it could be one of those three things, at least, unless some brand new information comes out anytime soon. But there we go. So that's why we think Christian Horner is gone. It could be a mixture of all. It absolutely could be a mixture of all three, if I'm honest. So subscribe if you got anything out of this video. Hit that like button if you want. That'd be great. That'll make us smile anyway. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.